Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Rocket Monday, we're going to talk about why nobody wants to work in ISRO. So this is a serious topic, so let's dive deep into it. Now, this is a real issue. It's not made up or somebody is just exaggerating. This can be as serious as it has to be. ISRO chairman Somnath, now he has stepped down from this position, but be mindful, this is an ongoing issue kind of scenario. And he basically had an actual interview. And before this also, he had talked about it, that this is an actual real life issue. But this time video is there. I have linked the video down below. Now be mindful, if you want to watch the full interview, you have to go to that news site. They have only pasted the snippets in YouTube. So basically, IITians do not want to join ISRO. Now, this statement was made in September 2023. So it's not very old. Now, IIT is India's equivalent of MIT. Now, basically, India put a lot of effort, sweat, blood and tear in the 60s. Basically, just after independence, we put boatload of effort to actually have India as like a intellectual capital of the world. So we put a lot of effort into IIT and it has yielded awesome result. Basically, if you ever see a lot of CEOs of big companies being Indian, majority of them would be from IIT. So it is a really high caliber institute for India. Now, India literally put a lot of effort into it. India made IIT. IIT had awesome output, but none of the awesome output wants to go into ISRO to make ISRO awesome. That creates a feedback loop where it's like, bro, it's gonna lag behind. So more than enough times, more than enough people have raised concern that unless this has been addressed seriously, it could create a scenario where even though IITians are doing amazing things worldwide, including India, ISRO would be like barely working. So that has some serious potential, long-term potential. Now, he did talk about like, yeah, all the talents we need, we do have the talent, but it's almost like, yeah, you have the talent, but if you are basically working from the back end, you will be limited. Basically, your long-term growth will be limited if you do not have the best of the best. So that creates an issue. Now, primary reason given at this interview and all that was money. While is it an important factor? Absolutely. To give you a contrast, what kind of money disparity we are talking about? People who were in that classroom where they were like giving the presentation, generally when you go to IIT and you give out a person like, this is us, this is what we do, this is our pay scale and all that, and people like sign up like a pre-interview kind of scenario. So they did that, everything is fine, and then the moment they showed the slides of the money part, how much you can make, what is the highest grade salary, I think his own salary maybe, and they all walked out. Basically almost 60-70% just like yeeted out of there. And the people who were in that classroom, they're saying like the contrast is so high that in MNC, multinational corporation, that would be your starting salary, what basically top end ISRO engineer and scientist can get. So that's a very big disparity. Because be mindful, there is another aspect you have to understand. Not everybody can reach that highest level, because again, it's like a pyramid. So you go into a bank, it does not guarantee that you will become a basically manager. Because again, in the early years it's possible because bank is expanding, but then it will reach equilibrium, and then you're like, of course you will have, let's say, 10,000 junior employee, then you will have 5,000 senior employees, and that's how it goes. It's a pyramid. It cannot be like, okay, everybody who comes in becomes a manager. So people have to look at it realistically, and the reality is, financially speaking, yeah, it's a no-go. And especially if you are coming from a very impoverished family, you may have taken out very big expensive loans, not American education loan, Indian education loan, but again, you would like to pay it off as quickly as possible. In those sort of scenario, people will be like, yeah, I can't risk that sort of money. So that's a very big real part of it. However, that's not the only part. It's a very significant part, but there are other things also that are not helping the case. Let's just put it that way. It's not helping the scenario. So I'm only focusing on other things, because again, the salary and income, that goes through government bureaucracy. I cannot discuss that, but I'm talking about other things that they can do to improve the situation. So this is a real issue. It's as real as it can be, coming directly from ISRO head. There is no discussion about it. It is real, it has serious consequences, and money is one big factor of it. But what about other factors that are not helping the situation? Now, if you watch my channel, I have talked about this multiple times. The reason India is not a global superpower, it's simply because our dreams have locks on it. Basically, we do not dream big. Basically, if you watch the TV show The Expanse, and how Marco Inaros says that even our dreams are small when he was talking about the belters, we are that. We genuinely do not dream big. Basically, we know how to make money, and that's all we are. Now, I do understand our ancestor, basically the people who were just after independence. India was in a rough spot. So how bad, rough spot we are talking about? Well, think in this way. 400 years ago, from 400 years to 200 years ago, one party literally drained India from what it was. Then another company, you may have heard of it, East India Company, it destroyed whatever was remainder in next 200 years. So for 400 years we were not like in our natural state, so to say. And in the last few years, as in like at the later end of East India's occupation, famine was like almost like a picnic. It was happening almost every year, a brutal famine. So we were in a bad situation. And just after World War II, we had one of the worst famine. So you have heard about Ukrainian famine? Yeah, think of that. So we had that almost going on 17 times, more or less. So it was bad, brutal, and then we got our independence. So fundamentally speaking, at that point in time, India was barely hanging on. Let that be very clear. We was barely hanging on. Now, here's the deal. That's a fact. There is no two way about it. There is no Indian who will say at that after independence we were like GG. No, we were crawling at that point in time, but we worked our ass off to actually become a powerful nation. Basically, we went from barely having food to actually having enough food that we supply enough of it to America. Rice, specific variety of rice. And when our price starts to heat up, we actually throttle the exports, so imports become like stable. Yeah, we went from barely having any food to like I got you, fam. So yeah, India really has a huge agriculture. Like we got this. And pharmaceutical, bro, you do not even want to compare it to other countries. It's like we good. So we were poor. However, at that point in time, that limited our dreams. And this is the fundamental difference between CCP, Chinese Communist Party, versus India at that point in time. So when ISRO was being laid down, that time it was not called ISRO, like how NASA had a different variant before it. We had INSCOPAR at that point in time, 1969. So that time they laid the foundation. Now, many times I've been surprised and baffled and in awe of many Indian bureaucrats, many Indian politicians, and many Indian pioneers who laid the foundation of which we are yielding the fruit right now. Many of them. Like we got undersea fiber cable surprisingly early, like surprisingly for thought was there, and voila, IT industry. So there have been times where more than enough Indians have like, I got you, fam. You are poor today, but you will not be poor tomorrow. So that sort of foundation happened. However, that did not happen with ISRO. So Vikram Sarabhai, basically the father of India's space program, he was chairperson at that point in time. That is, he had a statement like, "Why? Be mindful." At that point, everybody was against it. It's like, "Why do you want a space program? You can barely feed yourself." And which was true. Let that be very clear. Was true, not true anymore. Was true. In 1969, but he had a very reasonable point where it's like, yeah, we need it. However, at this point in time, compare this data set to what CCP was doing. CCP was in the same position, but he said something that irks me to this day. It's like, we do not have the fantasy of competing with the economically advanced nation in the exploration of the moon or the planets or manned space flight. Basically, he went from like, yeah, we are not rich, but we will never be rich. It's like, no, that's the part that hurts. Now, like, does that really have significant impact? Yes, absolutely it does. You must have heard people are like, people perform exponentially different compared to if when they have pride versus when they do not have pride. You have this sort of line, you no longer have pride. You are like, yeah, we are poor, so we have to dream accordingly. It's like, why? Now compare this to Chinese system. It's like, we're gonna dominate the space. There is no BS, there is no subtlety to it. It's like, yeah, we are not going, like, of course we are late, we are behind schedule, so to say, but we're gonna get it. Like, there is no limitation on the dream. Like, dream is huge. And again, to give you a context, this again, you may say that the early phase, the next leaders would have improved. This is APJ Abdul Kalam, again, significant figure in India's space and weapons capability. Missile man, he's called the missile man of India. And yes, he did design a lot of ICBMs for India. So capable man. And there is no discussion about his capability, intellect, and horsepower. There is no discussion about that. However, his dreams, same thing. They had no intention of using it merely as a display of our might. Now, again, he has a whole quote, I think it said in 1999. Now, the idea is it's parroting the same point that he did. It's like, we are not planning to go bonkers, all out, balls to the walls. We are not doing that. And that has a limitation on the dream. Basically, that limits every person who comes after you to like be like, be reasonable, be chill. Like, conservative would be a different word for it. It's like, don't rock the boat. Don't try to go balls to the walls, like try to do something bonkers. Now, I have said time and time again, America sucks in almost everything, except one factor. They got balls. Now, what does that mean? They got balls. Well, give you a context. Kennedy's speech happened in 12 September 1962. This is a speech, full recording, audio recording is available, full video is available. If you want to watch it, I urge you to watch it. Now, in that statement, there is a line. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. That part separates basically every other country from America. Like this openly admitting that, yeah, we effed up, man. We no longer have a space program. We are nowhere near as competent as Soviet Union, but we have to. That balls to the wall. It's like, we're gonna do the hard thing, like not because they are easy, but because they are hard. That balls to the walls thing. That's what America is. Like at the golden time. Bad times, like bad things happen, but this is the ideal of America. Basically laying a foundation. Is like, why dream small? Like go all out. And he was directly talking, it's like, why go climb Mount Everest? There is no aspect of it is like, oh, it's going to be hard, it's going to be costly. Be mindful, he wanted to cancel the project itself, but once the nation got in the momentum, and unfortunately after his spoofing, people just ran. They're like, okay, America is going to do the moon. America will go to the moon. America went to the moon. So that's why that dream part really limits our wings. And again, we have a direct analog of ourselves in China, and the stark difference is shocking. Another aspect is, while that is more of a meta layer problem, this is a real problem. That, as in, like, it should not be this bad. Public relation. ISRO does amazing thing. There is no discussion about that. There is no other nation where you can be like, okay, how many nations are there that has their own space program and they can claim, yeah, we have launched 100 plus satellite in one rocket. Come on, I dare you. There are very few countries, very, very, very few countries that can claim that. We are in one of them. So be mindful. ISRO has done amazing stuff. No discussion about it. However, there is just no public record of it. And no, it has nothing to do with what we call secrecy and all that stuff. And if it is, that's just stupidity. Because be mindful, what is secret? Hubble Space Telescope. Like, why it's a secret? Yeah, it's a CIA retired spy satellite design. Some of that spy satellites were still active when Hubble was deployed. That people were sharing. So it's like, dude, it's one of those things. And again, India has a dedicated division for stuff. Secret stuff. We call it DRDO, like how you have DARPA. Americans have DARPA, we have DRDO. So same goes with every nation. They have a public space program, and then they have hush program. So we have that hush program, so that's completely there. It's completely different. But science, innovation, research, development, private system, commercial systems, those things have to be shared. It's like there is no scenario where I can just go to a ISRO website. I'm not talking about some Instagram or some vlog or something like that. ISRO site, and I cannot find proper 2 megapixel photos of most projects. 2 megapixel. I'm not asking 12 megapixel. I'm not asking 24 megapixel. I'm asking 2 megapixel. Basically, it should at least show in Google as like, a large image, at least in that, just 2 megapixel. Most projects have no coverage. Like you cannot find it. And the public relationship kit that they have to make, it's very lackluster. Compare that to any other countries and compare that to private, dude, it's embarrassing. That's how lackluster it is. And it creates a scenario where India did amazing thing. India went to the sun, like how Parker's solar probe went. But here's the these are the news channel thumbnails, okay? News channel. Someone getting paid to do this work. None of them have none of them have Aditya solar probe. Why? ISRO never updated a proper image of it. So this literally copy pasted Parker system. This has tests. This has some European design. This has some thankfully this does it, because they did had a PDF where they had a tiny thumbnail sort of image of it. They copy pasted that, but then again, it's so tiny, they're like, let's just post something else. And be mindful, if you ask Indian children, even they must have heard things about in news about like Chandrayaan and Aditya and all that. They cannot point those things out. If I ask any American child, like again, born a bit older, be like, hey, draw me a space shuttle, they can draw it. They can get the shape out of it. And again, I can't do that with Indian kids simply because there is no images of it. It's like we do awesome stuff. There is no images of it. Like compare that to, let's say, NASA. NASA sends a stuff to Mars. Mars, they deploy a parachute. Okay, awesome, GG. That parachute has Morse code of MIT. That's there. That footage is coming back to Earth. ISRO sends Chandrayaan. Chandrayaan has rover, Vikram rover. Now that rover in the wheels have a marking that when it rides over there, it will imprint ISRO's emblem. Awesome, GG, awesome. Here's not even a single photo of it. Like literally, there is news articles that the images that being shared is the fake image. It's like somebody was excited, he made a basically image of it. It's like how it would look like, and he's like, okay, two tire marks, and then he's just like, okay, there's a Ashok symbol, like the score symbol, and ISRO's emblem. That's not real, and that's the only image most people can think of. Why? Because ISRO never provided it. The best people, oh, as you can pay attention, there is a little bit of emblem there. ISRO never provided this goddamn image, and do not say that's a national security thing. But that's the whole thing. Press kit, the fact that you are doing awesome stuff does not mean you are doing awesome stuff unless it's documented. Thou shall document the stuff. There is no documentation. So, and video camera, oh my god, that personally hurts me, because again, I'm a nerd about cameras and all that. I do understand it. So in 2015 and 16, when I was like watching that mission, 100 satellites in one go, the camera panned, right? They had a room, and camera looked very low quality, and they panned it. It interlaced. After 2010, they had a camera that interlaced, meaning that line, comb line things that you say, like, I never heard of it. Yeah, you're not supposed to. That technology died in 1990s. They still have that. And again, I'm like, Doordarshan, which is India's, like how BBC has it there. India has Doordarshan, free of cost. It also has a HD variant. That Doordarshan logo was higher definition compared to ISRO's footage. If people can't see you, how would they believe it? And again, most of the time it looks so bad. It's like, am I watching a capture of a capture of a capture, like done by some smartphone? It's like, it looks really bad. And again, people won't be interested if they cannot see it. So fundamentally, the reality, again, all of these have that issue. All of this. And I do not blame them. I do not blame them. Of course, I was dedicated enough where I actually found one big YouTuber. He was like, he literally had test craft. I'm like, okay, I know, bro. I know that ISRO does not provide image, but at least don't push test. So he removed it and put an Indian flag there. I don't blame them, but like ISRO is like, come on, man. Like, very hard to find, stuff for it. So be mindful. The first fact of it, if you can't see it clearly, it may have not happened. For majority of people, ISRO does not happen. So public relationship is just bad, meaning there is no pride to it. There is no joy to it. There's no actual, oh, this is what we are excited about. There's just like, oh, news stuff. And then people forget about it. Like, compare that to space shuttle, compare that to SLS, compare that to SpaceX. Oh, that's not even a comparison at that point. Now, this is the bitter part of it. Again, dream part is the meta layer, public relationship is how, and they have spent money on it. That's how bad it is. This part is the most bitter part of it. We are a really top level space organization, not because we are top, but because everybody else sucks. Basically, there is 195 country at this point in time in 2024, plus and minus 5 or 6 countries. Yes, there is country in conflict even today. So, duh. So assume 200 countries. Now, only 16 of them have any space program that can be calculated as a space program. And in that, only few of them have like actual capability. For example, USA, duh. Russia, Soviet Union was there, and then China, then European Union, then Japan, then ISRO, and others are still catching up, so to say. So these are the top players, so to say. Now, we are in the top simply because after Cold War, the two daddy players, they kind of chilled. They kind of just like, yeah, just let it go. Basically, after the fall of Soviet Union, there was not enough oomph there. There was not enough competition. So America also poofed out. Russia literally got stuck in the same technology they had in the Cold War era. Again, compare, please watch their video. Kalashnikov Cross, it was there, it still is there. They never updated the goddamn rocket. They refined it, fine-tuned it, but they never went from like, Falcon 1 to Falcon 9 to Starship. That never happened to them. So both two big players penned down, so they chilled out. China was working in the shadows at that point in time, and again, they were not a very good relationship with the world, so not that many contracts, so to say. And EU was expensive AF. So that's the sweet spot where we found our ISRO to be very fertile at that point in time. So it worked. However, things changed when this happened. This is 2002 SpaceX, Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk dumped $100 million. Now, there is one common scapegoat, copium, so to say, that Indians will say, oh, ISRO does not get money. Here's the bitter part of it. In 2002, ISRO's budget was $740 million. Again, it was counted in rupees, so I had to convert it based on that time's price. $740 million. We had more team, more infrastructure, more of everything other than balls. And again, what did he dreamed of? Directly, day one, directly going to the Mars. There is no BS, no hoo-ha. Like, that part I do respect. He really has the balls to dream. It's like, I'm gonna go. It's practical or not, I don't care. I'm gonna go. So that part is there. And we only became economically viable simply because we were cheaper than three major players. NASA, ludicrously expensive. So people went to Roscosmos. ESA was there, but only for their own private contractors. Even many of the ESA contracts were like simply going to other places like Roscosmos and ISRO because it was so expensive. And again, I do respect ESA today because they do have openly came out and it's like, yeah, Ariane's pass, Ariane 6 is like, no, it's like no, that's not a good rocket. It's like a tough pill to swallow. At least they have acknowledged it. They messed up. So they went from expensive rocket to like really, really uselessly expensive rocket. So yeah, they are not no longer even in the race unless some private players comes into it. So NASA expensive, ESA even more expensive, Roscosmos cheap. But what if you want even cheaper than Roscosmos? ISRO at that point is like, I got you, fam. So ISRO really thrived in that point in time. However, things changed. This was growing, and that sweet spot from 2000s to 2010 started to fade. SpaceX slowly started to rear its head. And be mindful, at that time, other companies were also growing. You may have heard of Rocket Lab. So other things were cooking in the scene, behind the scene. A lot of private players were opening. And the moment SpaceX started to deploy their wings, the end. So basically, we went from lot of launches to no launches. And the moment private players entered the game, yeah, all the ISRO competitiveness that was there evaporated. It just evaporated overnight. And be mindful, SpaceX is just one player and Rocket Lab is another player. So we are building a rocket known as a small satellite launch vehicle. Yeah, it's already outdated compared to Rocket Labs, Electron rocket, and Neutron rocket is under construction. If this gets worked in like, let's say, next 3 years, it will outclass all of ISRO's rocket, all of it. And if this flies, I'm like, at that point, there is no point in competition. So basically, we are practically speaking still stuck at USSR level. We are working on a new engine. You're like, awesome. What is the engine? Semi-cryogenic engine 200. It's like, okay, why it's semi-cryogenic? Because it was done in USSR. I'm not even joking. The engine is literally from USSR, and it's so, the blueprints have been carried forward for so long. So it was USSR engine, then it became Ukrainian engine. Now it's an Indian engine. And I'm like, it's literally like taking a blueprint of a steam engine and be like, okay, instead of making of steel, let's make it of titanium. I'm like, how about you take steel, make a jet engine? But we are stuck in there. Again, we know this. We know that. I do respect ESA for this. It's like when they realize what they have done, they're like, yeah, we messed up. ISRO, I have not seen that. And again, if NASA does not do that, there is Inspector General Office. They are like, yeah, bro, you messed up. SLS is like, you messed up. So we are basically subpar. So the moment private players started to open their wings, and it's like they're dreaming huge. It's like we have this awesome rocket that does not even throw away the fairing. It does not even detach the fairing. It has a second stage floating in the fairing. I'm like, dang, would an engineer would like to work on this, or like a system that has like, virtual aero spike engine, and it has like multiple engine that does reignition and has thermal shield that requires liquid hydrogen to keep itself cool. That problem, or yeah, we have a rocket that is copy paste of 1970s design philosophy. You can understand why people would not want to work. Like, you do not have money, and the things that you are giving, the projects, the problems that you are giving us to solve, it's not that interesting. So fundamentally, the subpar quality of ISRO is now becoming more and more apparent. And again, many of these companies also have Indian IITians, lot of them, like ludicrously lot of them. Now, you have to understand there are some parallels here also. So, for example, this sort of issue where you have to work a lot, basically you have to get very little pay and you will have no work-life balance after it. That's a very similar story for basically animators of animes and game artists. I used to be this. So, you have to understand this is a normal thing for these two industries. Then question becomes, why do they do not have shortage of workers? They get a lot of workers, like surprisingly a lot. Heck, I worked in 2.5 years for it. So why do you do that? Well, reality is they are working because of passion. Fundamentally, they are working for passion, and that allows them to justify that sort of hard life, so to say. And again, you can see that in One Punch Man, the first season of that anime was really high quality. Why? Because everybody was working from passion. Compare that to season 2, it looks like a low grade animation. That's the reason people were no longer passionate about it. So we went from like, whoa, artwork to no passion, who cares? So same thing happens in gaming also. But people come in because as long as there is new thing, new passion, they are passionate about it. And they work because they can show their work with pride and joy. I can openly say, hey, Spider-Man game that was like, launched with PlayStation 4. Halo game on Xbox, Forza game in Xbox, and PC, and Walking Dead and all that jazz. I have worked in that. You can watch the game, and there would be a small name Anupam Vipul there. So that allows people to actually endure that sort of hard life, so to say. So let this be very clear. Fixing all these issues that I'm talking about, the fact of dream, the fact of super duper hyper bad PR, and the fact of literally building 1970s technology in 2024. If you fix all of that, will it solve all the issues? Hell no, it will not. Because again, some people will be like, bro, I took out a huge loan, and again, I came from poverty. I no longer want to be in that position again. I want to be living opulously. Again, there are people like that, but more than enough people will start to pour in if they have fixed all those issues. Again, we have the factories of this to know that this actually does work. So it will reduce the strain on ISROs for acquiring Indian talent considerably, and top tier talent I'm talking about. So only then they can reach into what we call cutting edge technology, because be mindful, this is where the world is right now, and we are having a hard time making a rocket that is barely 20 ton to low earth orbit. Yeah, this puppy is 100 ton to low earth orbit, target is, and this puppy is gonna land and all that. So yeah, we are on a whole different level. It's like comparing 2G phone to 5G phone. It's a whole different level. So there are parallels here. It can be fixed, it can be improved. It will solve everything? No, but it will help. So this was my presentation on basically why nobody wants to work in ISRO. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.